Welcome to History, Facts, and Mysteries, the place where history's hidden stories come to life. Today, we embark on an incredible journey to explore the rise of the early Aztec civilization, one of the most fascinating and complex cultures of pre-Entente, Colombian Mesoamerica, known for their monumental architecture, sophisticated social structure, and rich mythology. The Aztecs carved out an empire that would captivate historians for centuries. Before we dive into the story of their origins and rapid expansion, please subscribe to History, Facts, and Mysteries, and click the bell icon to stay updated on our deep explorations into the past's greatest mysteries. The Toltec Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in pre-Columbian America. They were known for their advanced society, impressive architecture, and skilled craftsmanship. But what many people don't know is that the Toltec Empire was actually a continuation of an even earlier civilization, the early Aztec. The early Aztec were a Mesoamerican civilization that flourished in the Valley of Mexico between the years 1400 BCE and 900 CE. They were the predecessors to the later Aztec Empire and played a significant role in shaping the history of Mesoamerica. Although the early Aztecs were a small and relatively unknown civilization, they had a profound impact on the development of Mesoamerican culture. Their innovations in agriculture, art, and religion would have a lasting legacy and serve as the foundation for the later Aztec Empire. To understand the rise of the early Aztec civilization, it's important to first explore the geography of the Valley of Mexico. The Valley of Mexico is a large, high-altitude basin surrounded by mountains. This natural barrier protected the valley from outside invaders and allowed the early Aztec to develop without interference. The valley also had several large lakes which provided the population with food and resources. These geographic factors would play a crucial role in the development of the early Aztec civilization. The early Aztec civilization is thought to have emerged around 1400 BCE in the Lake Texcoco region of the Valley of Mexico. Archaeological evidence suggests that they were initially a small group of nomadic hunter-gatherers who lived along the lake shores. However, over time, they developed more sophisticated technologies and social structures and eventually established permanent settlements. One of the earliest and most important settlements was the city of Culhuacan, which became the capital of the early Aztec Empire. The early Aztec were a highly innovative people who developed many new technologies that helped them thrive in their environment. One of their most important innovations was the chinampa, a type of floating garden. The chinampa were artificial islands made from reeds and vegetation that were used to grow crops. This innovation allowed the early Aztecs to maximize the use of their limited land, resources, and produce a surplus of food for their growing population. The chinampa system is still used today in parts of Mexico and is considered one of the most successful examples of sustainable agriculture. Another important innovation was the development of the calendar. The early Aztecs kept track of time using a sophisticated calendar system that was based on the movements of the sun and the stars. This calendar was highly accurate and is considered one of the most advanced in pre-Columbian America. One of the key features of the early Aztec civilization was their religion. The religion of the early Aztecs was polytheistic, and they worshipped a variety of gods and goddesses. The most important deity was Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun. Other important deities included Tlaloc, the rain god, and Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god. Religion played a central role in the life of the early Aztecs, and their religious beliefs shaped their art, architecture, and daily life. Many of their temples and sculptures depict scenes from their mythology, and their priests played an important role in society. The early Aztec were also known for their art and architecture. They created beautiful sculptures, pottery, and jewelry that are still admired today for their craftsmanship and detail. One of the most impressive examples of their architecture is the Pyramid of the Moon at Tenochtitlan, although it was built several centuries before the arrival of the Aztecs. It remains an iconic symbol of the civilization and a testament to their engineering skills. As the early Aztec civilization grew, it became more complex and eventually developed into a small empire. The empire reached its peak around 250 CE when it controlled much of the Valley of Mexico. However, the empire was short-lived and began to decline around 450 CE. There are several theories about the reasons for the decline. Some scholars believe that the empire overextended itself and became too large to manage effectively. Others believe that there was a series of natural disasters, such as earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, that devastated the civilization. Still others believe that the decline was caused by external factors, such as the arrival of new immigrant groups in the region. Despite the brevity of their empire, the early Aztec left a lasting legacy. Their innovations in agriculture, art, and religion would influence later civilizations, including the Aztecs who came after them. After the decline of the early Aztec Empire, the Valley of Mexico was home to several other civilizations, including the late post-classic Mesoamerican cultures. However, none of these civilizations were able to reach the same level of power and influence as the early Aztecs. The reason for this is likely due to a combination of factors. First, the environment of the Valley of Mexico is highly susceptible to earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. While the early Aztecs were able to recover from these disasters, the later civilizations were not. Additionally, the Valley of Mexico was home to a number of independent city-states that were often at war with each other. This constant warfare made it difficult for any one civilization to gain control of the entire valley. Finally, the later civilizations in the Valley of Mexico lacked the same level of sophistication and innovation as the early Aztecs. They were unable to develop new technologies or adapt to changing circumstances in the same way that the early Aztecs had done. As a result, none of the later civilizations were able to match the accomplishments of the early Aztecs, or have the same lasting impact on Mesoamerican culture. The Toltec Empire was the first major Mesoamerican civilization to emerge after the fall of the early Aztec Empire. They were located to the north of the Valley of Mexico and reached their peak between 900 and 1150 CE. The Toltecs were known for their advanced society, impressive architecture, and skilled craftsmanship. However, despite their accomplishments, the Toltecs were eventually conquered by the Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century. There are several similarities between the Toltec and early Aztec civilizations. Both were located in Mesoamerica and flourished during similar time periods. Both civilizations were highly innovative and developed new technologies that helped them thrive. Additionally, both civilizations had a strong emphasis on religion, and their beliefs shaped many aspects of their culture. Despite these similarities, there were also some key differences between the two civilizations. The Toltecs were located further north than the early Aztecs, and they had a different political structure. The Toltecs were ruled by a single monarch, while the early Aztecs had a more decentralized government. Additionally, the Toltecs had a different religious system and worshipped different deities than the early Aztecs. The relationship between the Toltec and early Aztec civilizations is complex and not fully understood. Some scholars believe that the Toltecs were a continuation of the early Aztec Empire, while others believe that they were a separate civilization that emerged independently. The Toltecs may have been influenced by the early Aztecs, but they also developed their own unique culture and traditions. It's possible that the Toltecs borrowed some elements of early Aztec culture, such as their religious beliefs and artistic styles, while also developing their own distinct identity. The Toltec Empire reached its peak during the post-classic period of Mesoamerican history, which lasted from 900 to 1521 CE. During this time, the Toltecs controlled much of central Mexico and were known for their advanced society and impressive architecture. However, like many other pre-Columbian American empires, the Toltec Empire was eventually conquered by the Spanish conquistadors. The early Aztec civilization laid the foundation for one of the most powerful empires in the Americas before European contact. Their achievements in agriculture, urban planning, military organization, and cultural development continue to fascinate scholars and the public alike. Though their empire would eventually fall to Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century, the impact of their innovations and cultural richness endures. Today, the descendants of the Aztecs preserve many traditions, language elements, and artistic expressions that reflect their enduring heritage. The study of the Aztec rise provides valuable insights into human resilience, creativity, and the complex interplay of power, religion, and society. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other content and please consider subscribing to be notified of new content. Thanks for watching.